Hello, everybody, and welcome to Interlinked's first attempt at what hopefully resembles a podcast. My name is Jordan, and today we will be hearing from Seth and Isaac, the guitarist and drummer of Interlinked, respectively. The three of us will discuss the Shelters EP, its development, as well as how the band came to be. For starters, we will go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Seth. I play guitar sometimes. I kind of manage the band to an extent, as far as like keeping things on track. They're in the. I do like that role of project management.
You actually kind of like your boss. He's like,
yeah. Me and Isaac will manage everyone to different extents.
We have a good cop, bad cop.
Who's who?
My name is Isaac Goldsmith. I play drums at Interlinked, and I do bad cop stuff. Mostly.
Is there any really good cop stuff?
The first question I posed to the guys was how Interlinked came to be. When did it become clear that we wanted to make a new band instead of keeping with our older projects, and what was the process of transitioning like?
I think early summer 2019 was kind of the whenever the idea started to get thrown around of creating a new project or moving in a different musical direction. Obviously, some of the songwriting responsibilities had kind of shifted to other members, and there were some kind of life circumstances going on that I think it started to become more clear that it was time to move on to a new project and do something that we felt musically made more sense to what we were listening to and what we wanted to be a part of. So
I feel like it started even earlier than that.
Really?
I would second that.
Yeah, because I remember having the arguments over whether or not we wanted to just change the band name, or if we wanted to, like, you know, what we wanted to do, if we wanted to change the direction of the music but keep the previous title. But I think we made the right decision of trying to separate it to an extent.
Yeah,
because of how different it is.
Absolutely.
So, and I remember the very long conversations,
very long
arguments.
Yeah, and I'd want to say,
thing.
Yeah, going back, it would be somewhere around like September or October of 2018, where we had some ideas on the table and some new musical ideas from, you know, like Isaac had said about songwriting from different members of the band.
And we all went back and forth on like how we felt.
Absolutely.
So
I remember so clearly messaging Jordan at like 2 a.m. and being like, we need to do something different, and it being like, no, why would we do this? But
there were many fights over many hours, over many months. Honestly, we went into the studio making this record and had it done. I remember Alex messaged me after the final recording session had wrapped up, and he was asking me what to list the files under, and I didn't have an answer.
Right.
And so I messaged you guys, and like the whole group was just confused, and it took us like another week to figure that out.
Yeah.
But then we ended up going with Interlinked, and I agree, that was a good choice. Because Blade Runner 2049 continues to amaze me every time I rewatch it, no matter what else my
Top 10
friends
all
or
time.
partners happen to think about that. So
top 10 all time.
You said top film all time.
Top 10.
I was like, wow!
I don't know, I can't say it's my number one ever, but...
yeah, we can definitively say that Blade Runner 2049 is heads and shoulders above the original with Harrison Ford.
Yeah. And we know that the Interlinked isn't originally from the movie. It's from
it's from some literature which we can pretend to
poetry.
Be... Yeah, we
what do you call that?
Deep. Yeah,
it's like called like the White Fountain or something like that.
We can pretend it's a literary reference and that we're all just very avid readers. Which, you know, we read, but not...
Yeah, I read, not poetry,
yeah.
but I read.
Not crazy about.
I've seen around
I'm well read.
a book or two.
Isaac's looked at a book before.
Yeah, actually, the novel's called Pale Fire. So
Pale Fire. The novel is
so.
Pale Fire.
So is it a poem or is it a novel?
It's a novel.
I almost guarantee you, it's like one of those like novels that's like a poem, like the
poems.
Iliad and stuff like that.
No, that is a poem.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that.
Okay. So we're named after a poem, which we've clearly all read and done some research on.
kidding.
Who's it by?
Ridley Scott?
I can't pronounce his name.
Let me see. Let me look at this.
It's towards the bottom there.
Ryan Gosling?
No.
Oh, Nabokov. That's right. It's a Nabokov. Yeah. Okay.
Go, guys.
Of course.
Come on.
There are 2 college graduates in this room.
Guess which one?
Yeah, you'll be hard pressed to find out which ones they are. Let's see. Go ahead and moving on then. So like I said, we didn't really know for sure 100% what the new identity was going to be whenever we came out of the studio, but we knew going into the studio that it was going to be different from what we were doing previously. I can remember specifically, Isaac and I, we went to a Starbucks in a town I don't remember anymore. It was just kind of...
It's a town that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, like in some long forgotten town. It might not exist anymore.
It was wiped out.
but we went there, I want to say it was in March of 2019, and it was like a dark and kind of rainy night. We went there in your truck, and we had to take the toll road to get there.
Okay.
So it could have been like some satellite town of Fort Worth that I just don't quite remember anymore.
Was it Crowley?
I couldn't tell you. So we went to this mysterious place.
This spooky Starbucks.
Yeah, and of course there was a Starbucks there because there's one everywhere.
And there was a ghost.
Yeah, but we sat there with
Silent
Zach.
Hill, Texas.
It was foggy that night, I remember.
It was foggy. There was that guy with the pyramid.
Yeah, but he was standing a comfortable distance away down the road. But
before social distancing.
Yeah, and this was very much so before all that. We were there with Zach and Alex, our producers that helped us with this record, and we told them right then and there that this was going to be a different project and different, artist title and different musical style and what that entailed. And we had a good, couple hour long conversation, and then we went our separate ways until I believe it was later that month that we got the drums in the studio. I think we started recording the record in late March. But having said that, obviously there was a little bit of prep work before we went into the studio. But what would you say like everyone's goals were going into the studio with the new material, and how did you want this specific project to differ from past projects?
I think as a whole, we just wanted to create music we identified with more. I think some of our previous stuff had been just stuff. I mean, some of the songs that were written for previous material were written whenever we were not even adults, and I think there's a lot of growth that happens in between the time you graduate high school and graduate college or whatever the time period is. And I felt like as a whole we just wanted to create something that we were just simply proud of and simply could resonate more so with.
Yeah, something that felt more current for us as people, and not just current from a music culture standpoint.
Absolutely.
So, because I know you've always been a metalcore kid.
Yes, sir.
I have not. I didn't get into metalcore till I was in college.
Dang.
I'm pretty much in the same boat.
You're outing yourselves right now.
I'm not particularly ashamed that I did not have a scene phase.
Hey, that's enough.
You want to pull up your MySpace?
That's enough.
Can we please change the topic? Well, yeah, I want to say that I started to gravitate more towards, more progressive, modern metal type music. I want to say when I met Isaac, which was around like 2014, 2015. I in particular remember it was pretty. I can pinpoint it well because we were on our way to Disney World.
Ooh.
Classic. Yeah, with the Golden Pride Band.
Yes, sir.
Cleburne, Texas. The pride of Cleburne, Texas.
That's right.
Our lovely hometown.
Pretty good for Cleburne.
Absolutely, yeah. We did some things, right? We were pretty good. But I can remember listening to Altered State, the Tesseract album, which had come out a year prior at that point. But that was really my first brush with that type of music, and I really enjoyed the instrumentation, the tones, things like that, just the general performance, and that kind of led me into more other progressive types of music that I think is more familiar with what we make now. So yeah, I was definitely late to the party on that one. I was 16, 17 at that time.
Yeah, I didn't realize it, but because I didn't know Trivium was considered metalcore for a long time.
Oh, they don't count.
It counts.
See,
yes, it does.
This is what I'm talking about. So I guess Trivium was really my first exposure to like metalcore. I didn't know it was metalcore. I thought it was just like new wave of thrash metal, or like new wave of American metal, like Lamb of God type. Similar. Like they don't really sound alike, but they're in the same kind of subgenre, quote unquote.
Subgenres.
Yeah. I do like my subgenres. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that would be my first exposure. But but like you're saying, Jordan, they almost don't count. They kind of cross that subgenre line.
I just
back
remember
and forth. In Waves.
Wow.
In Flames is a totally different thing.
A schoolboy error.
In Waves feels pretty metalcore.
Right.
Absolutely.
Anything off of Ascendancy
does not. That's what I was going to say. I was going to bring up hearing Rain for the first time. Just like the first 45 seconds of that song are just absolutely in the vein of thrash metal, which was my cup of tea, especially earlier in my life, and still today to a certain degree, but definitely not as much as it was back then. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very, very passionate about Ascendancy. I love that record, but
yeah, because you and I were thrash kids.
I mean,
you were too, Isaac, but to a lesser extent, and you're afraid to admit it.
I wasn't.
You're ashamed of that equally as much as your MySpace scene phase.
I'm ashamed of one.
You're probably
more than the other.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're more ashamed of the thrash kid thing. I know.
All I know is that the other day I had pizza and beer for the first time, in years, and it felt good.
Feels good. Sometimes you gotta thrash it out, man. You just gotta,
for sure.
Just got a circle pit in your room, no karate.
Damage Inc. comes on, and I'm like, all right, I still like thrash.
It comes in waves.
In waves.
It does. Wow.
Thank you.
Professional over here.
Right. So I think it's safe to say that the newer stuff was more in line with what we like about the metal genre as it stands these days, as opposed to in the past when we were much more inclined to different subgenres. And in that way, I think picking a new project name and new brand was sort of justified. Yeah. And going off of, going into the studio with those different mindsets and ideas, that recording process ended up lasting several months, mainly just due to conflicting schedules. The studio was in McKinney, Seth and I were in Denton, the rest of the gang were kind of scattered, Fort Worth, Cleburne, generally like an hour or so away. But yeah, we started in the March of 2019, and I did my last vocal session late July of that same year. What are your strongest memories from that process?
I just remember being excited about the material and being much more excited than I was previously about stuff we had worked on. I don't know, it was the first time we had been in the studio with material that was written more so by Tony, and I felt like it was closer to the music I'd listened to, and it was closer to the music that I enjoyed. So I had more fun playing it, and more fun preparing, and just the overall experience was something I looked forward to a little more.
And what was that preparation process like for you? I didn't really get to see much of it.
Same process as the previous stuff, really. Just writing parts, practice parts, record parts.
Mm-hmm. Where were you writing at that time? I don't remember anymore.
Well, most of the parts were written in MIDI, and then I transcribed them and then taken them to the kit, which was actually set up at Seth's dad's place.
That's right.
And in practice there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, I will say, I distinctly remember being alone during vocal tracking.
Oh,
yeah. That was odd to me. I wasn't quite okay with that, but I think it turned out fine. That was one thing, and also I have a video of Seth eating chicken nuggets. I think you went to 3 or 4 of the sessions. One of them you fell asleep at. You had brought the other guitar. There was a guitar that you brought to the studio, and you were hanging out on the couch, and you just passed out.
Yep.
And then the eating of the chicken nuggets.
Those are my memories.
Those are the only 2 things you remember. That's funny.
Following that somewhat lengthy recording process, we seem to always have the plan in mind that we were going to sit on our material for a little bit of time as we planned out the rest of the release, getting the music video together or lyric video together, things like that, just in place so that whenever we launched the project, we would have sort of a drip feed of content to release throughout the months that followed. Obviously, 2020 had different things in store. We had all sorts of delays.
Yeah, we definitely sat on the content.
Yeah.
Sat on it for a while.
we ended up, like I said, we released it in October of 2020, but it was finished and mixed and mastered and back in our hands by August. So what was it like having to sit on the material for over a year?
It was funny. There was a lot of different emotions. There was points where I was like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to get it out to the world. And then there were actual points where I tried convincing the rest of the band to delete the record because I guess the self-loathing nature of being a musician.
Of being Isaac.
Yeah, being Isaac, really.
Because I was never like, let's delete it and start over.
I was. The self-loathing nature of myself, I guess, kind of amplifies whenever you don't just get it out into the world and you have time to listen to it over and over and over again and decide what you hate most about it.
Yeah, I definitely do not try to listen to our stuff after it comes out.
I'm over that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'll be around family or friends or whatever, and it'll come on their Spotify shuffle or whatever, and I'm like, please skip it.
That's funny.
My dad's like, why? It's good. And I'm like, I'm sure it's good.
I'm sure it's good. I don't want to know.
I have my own thoughts.
That's funny.
That is absolutely there's never a harsher critic than yourself.
Absolutely.
Kind of thing. So.
Very much a similar experience. At that time, I was kind of going back and forth between going to college up in Denton and working back in Cleburne. And so there was a lot of driving where I would listen to it and, kind of think about it. And if I could change things, what would I have changed and be them vocally or instrumentally. I don't think I ever quite got to a point where I wanted to delete the entire record. But I did get to points where I wanted certain songs to either be completely rechanged or completely left off the record as a sort of B-side.
Right.
And that's kind of a regret of mine looking back, is if we had done this all over again, I would have gotten more material together and sort of, weeded out, the weaker songs or the ones we didn't feel quite as passionate about. But I would say all in all, once it became clear that we were going to release it, that everything was kind of in sight, of course we had to record that music video. I had to record that music video, what am I saying? But I'm not going to be humble about it. I straight up had to drive 4 hours to Austin to meet with our producer and film that video, and it was just me and him in a shack in Austin that you can rent out for studio space and stuff like that. And it was 95, 96 degrees, and we were in a hot shed that had no air conditioning, and I was wearing a heavy coat for a large portion of the video shoot. If you're familiar with our promo photos, or if you've watched the video, you'll know what I'm talking about, but it's a long black pea coat that is just hot as all hell on its own, but especially when you're thrashing about and making yourself look like a fool on camera. And I don't think the band will ever quite repay me for that.
Next time when we make you do a music video by yourself, you can hop around in a loincloth.
Oh yeah, that'll...
I would vastly prefer the loincloth.
Shout out Brandon for putting up with Jordan crying about...
Absolutely. Brandon was very professional, and yeah, I very much appreciate his going out there and doing his job and doing it well.
Did it well.
Yeah. I also want to say I never want to do a music video by myself again.
That's fair.
That was the strangest feeling, was just losing my brains and acting like I was, all that and just no one else there.
Acting is weird.
It is weird, and
it's
I don't know. I wasn't a wonderful time, but it was great for what it was, and like I said, Brandon did a great job. Was very professional, very cool about it. It didn't take too long, thankfully. If it did, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I would have died of heat stroke at least 3 times over. Yeah, so there was that.
Oh, I'm sorry we did that to you.
It's okay.
No, that was my idea. So
I think the rest of us were like working or something.
Pandemic, man.
Or it was either all of us were gonna be there or only one of us. Because it'd be weird if like only 3 of the band that were able to make it could do it.
Yep.
Because scheduling was just really weird at the time.
Yeah, and I'll also say that just given the lyrical content of the song itself being more like sort of not completely autobiographical, but semi-autobiographical. Apologies for the iPad dinging at me.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I think that having the one-person video, just given the content of the song itself, was actually a good call. It was also especially a good call given the pandemic, keeping things limited, who's seeing who, coming into contact with who and what. Like was just kind of a precaution we had to take. Yeah, and it turned out well, I'd say. I enjoyed it. Watching back, looking at it, it's a good video.
How does it feel watching a music video where you're the only person in it? Does it feel like kind of weird, kind of sensual?
Like
I wouldn't.
It's kind of
I knew that was coming up.
You feel like a narcissist?
Yeah. No, dude. I knew that was happening too. I knew that was gonna happen.
Hey, if we can make jokes about it and keep it from happening, then
no, it's all
like
good.
for real.
Yeah, it helped me stem off my horrible addiction of being full of myself.
And full of yourself.
Well, we all know
Who doesn't have that?
We all know Jordan.
Yeah. No, I'll say honestly.
Twitter's gonna love that one.
I was very anxious. I was very upset. I didn't watch it for a while.
I wouldn't have if it had been me.
I didn't watch it once. I'm just kidding.
I didn't check it out until the rest of the band had looked at it and they were like, yeah, it's fine. Like, it's good. You know, like, it looks good for everything, like, considering. And then I was like, okay, I'll give it a watch. And even then I skimmed through it.
Yeah.
I was just like, okay, that looks good. You know, skip forward like a minute and a half. Okay, that looks good. How does this part look and sound? He did this really cool thing at one point in the shoot where there was a couch that was just there. And I should point out that we didn't bring anything to the shoot other than a camera and myself. Like, that was about all we had on set. The rest was purely just what was, like, already in the barn thing we were in itself. And there was just a couch there for some reason. And he's like, you know, that old-looking couch is actually kind of sick. Like, bring it over here. And so
that's a sick couch.
Well, yeah, like, it was like this old-timey looking couch that you would find in, like, a jazz lounge or something.
Yeah. The couch looked hard to you.
Yeah, it looks pretty metal to me. So we brought it over and
spikes on it.
And there was, like, a set of garage doors behind me. You couldn't see them, obviously, because we covered them up with, like, you know, the white sheet or the black sheet, depending on what part of the video you're at. But he also had this light that he had thrown over the top of the garage, like, you know how, like, the garage comes up and it's held in place on the ceiling by these, like, metal rods. He had hung this light over the garage, like, hanging rod things, and it was, like, dangling down precariously off of a chain, and he covered up the light with a red filter, and so there was this red light, and it looked wonderful, but at any moment, you know, this chain light could just fall and you know, kill me on this super cool couch.
Catch the couch on fire.
Yeah, so I was really happy that didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean that's better than our other experience shooting a music video.
Yeah,
where we lost a drone.
Yeah, our cameraman lost a drone. We got yelled at by cops.
Yeah,
that was
classic.
Fun. Yeah.
Maybe we shouldn't become cops. We'd have to go yell at people like us recording music videos and
I'll put it on record. I don't want to be a cop.
Yeah, I will also put on record.
For the record, none of us are cops. Nor do we aspire to be cops. Mentioning the beginnings of the project itself, I could point back to sort of August, July of like 2018, when we'd already had the discussions about, you know, potential changing of the guard and the band and all that. But Isaac, you actually encountered some interesting health issues about that time that kind of put things, I'd say, into a new perspective, but would you like to elaborate at all on that?
Yeah, so simply I had was supposed to be kind of a routine surgery to get rid of some internal bleeding stuff that had been present for a while, and we finally decided to see if we could fix it up, and then didn't quite go as expected. And whenever you have like blood disorder issues, things tend not to go as you expect, and there was just kind of a period where we were trying to get me healed up from the surgery, and resulted into close to a month-long hospital stay and lots of blood transfusions and passing out and all that type of fun stuff. It was probably the scariest period of my life, being told by a doctor that we're not sure when you're going to stop bleeding, and hopefully we can figure something out tomorrow, over and over again after you've passed out in the shower however many times is not the experience I wish I would have had that particular summer, but you really learn from those types of things, I guess.
And to make matters, even more dire in that situation, we had recently been invited to open the local Summer Slaughter Festival that was happening in Dallas. And if I remember correctly, you were discharged from the hospital about a week or even less?
It was like,
2 weeks
I believe it was 2 weeks. I was in the hospital for right under a month, and then I was discharged. I was actually mailing tickets from the hospital room. I was having family members bring me shipping materials and handling all that, and trying to hustle tickets in the cardiac room at Harris Hospital. So shout out those people for letting me mail stuff out of the hospital. Yeah, I was probably 2 weeks afterwards, and it was really interesting. I still had a PICC line in my arm where I had to administer blood medicines, and I had atrophied a lot of my muscles had atrophied, so I couldn't really lift my drums. So we had to guest list a few extra people to help move all of that, and it was kind of a quick turn of events.
Mm-hmm. And I will say that just like the 2 weeks that we woodshedded immediately before the show, just really honing the set and what we wanted to do, and just working through that was really impressive. It was super, inspiring, for lack of a better word. I don't want to make you the narcissist now, but I can say pretty surely that after that experience, it was almost a set in stone thing that this project was happening. Would you say that you had similar feelings about that?
As much as I trying to get out of the habit of making scary or tragic things seem more important than they actually are, but I think there was definitely moments in that experience where I had to rethink a lot of things. I think one of the things I rethought was what I wanted to be putting myself into musically and how I wanted to express myself, and there were a few moments throughout all that where, to be quite frank, I wasn't sure if I'd wake up, and as silly as it may seem, whenever I did wake up, it kind of made more sense for me to participate in music that I was more passionate about or felt more connected to.
You had a literal near-death experience.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I just I haven't had anything quite like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jordan showed up at the hospital 3 a.m.
Yeah, I was bummed because nobody told me that was happening, because I would have made the drive to meet you too, and we could all hung out in the hospital.
It was
room.
funny. I was supposed to get discharged that next day.
Yeah.
And so in my head, as we were all hanging out in the cardiac room, and I'm the youngest person there or whatever, I was yeah, this is, I'm gonna be hanging out with my friends the next few days, get ready for Summer Slaughter, and they went home, I went to sleep, and then my doctor decided last minute to not send me home. And I was kind of bummed. I was like, what the heck? This is so stupid. And then that night, I was passing out on the toilet. So, in hindsight, it was probably the smart call.
Yeah, I remember going up there with Spencer, and we hung out in your hospital room and played Pokemon Go for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, well, my hospital room was right outside of a Pokestop, so it really was.
It was right outside from a gym.
Yeah, no, it was right outside of the gym.
And we took that gym before we left.
That's right. Well, I think, really, if the $250,000 worth of hospital bills would probably worth
the opportunity to take that gym.
Yeah, taking that gym.
It's a good thing that it happened to you and not me
absolutely.
At the time. Yeah. Because I'd still be paying off it.
Yeah, I had health insurance, thankfully.
I have health insurance now, which I'm super thankful for.
For the record.
I am insured now. Nobody worried.
Yeah, this podcast is brought to you by the American healthcare system, which we all love very much.
It's been so great to me.
This is sponsored by the ACA.
Okay, that's actually all I have on the dock here, but any closing thoughts or opinions, statements, declarations, resignations?
It's been real.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Alright, I'll stop.
It isn't worth it.
I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone that's listened to Shelters. We could not have done it without each and every one of you, and we cannot wait to release more material for you. I would also like to shout out the team that helped us release our record. These talented individuals and their work for this project cannot be understated. The band would like to thank the following: Alex and Zachary Goodenough, Elijah Zakharov, Brandon Brumley, Daniel Hambright, and Savannah Shadle. Thank you all so much for joining us on this foray into the world of podcast media. We hope you have a great year, and we hope that you guys stay safe out there. Thank you so much.